each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail.
Improvised. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
So where does the Vatican and the banks and the royals and all that, where do they fit into all this?
They are all part of a sacred geometry infrastructure. Think of a foundation. That foundation needs electrical wires, it needs hot water, it needs cold water, it needs lights. The Vatican would be considered something like a telephone system or a computer, and the Bank of England and the Queen of England would be considered like the parking garage with the cars inside it, because that's what households and transfer spiritual contracts. And then different cities are transfer or holding stations that have multiple banks inside them, and each bank has a link to your birth certificate that allows them to sell it on the open market. So they have a direct spiritual contract to send you spiritual mail, whether you see it or not. And then your contracts are brought into the corporate office, which means corporate karmic resolution on a spiritual level, instead of your free will choice at resolution. So that's the layer of reality that's being controlled.
There was this one program, I can't remember how long ago, it was to do with, you mentioned this with going into museums and all of these objects being placed in them, and people were harvesting, meaning the buildings and the way they were built. It was also used as a collection of the people's energy when they interact with these objects. Do you recall this?
Oh, yes, I do very much recall that one.
Okay, because I wasn't too sure whether I was explaining myself properly. So because of that one with the revocation with government and my family and their connection, and I guess maybe family crests and working with different sort of sectors, that's been really that's become more and more clear, as well as me trying to find a way of strategically and working in these sorts of environments and going into these sorts of buildings. And I realized that there's a real pull for me to be in these places, or there's a real karma that seems to be happening with me being drawn, or for some reason, I have to go to this particular place that is to deal with government or to deal with a sacred or religious site or a heritage site. Am I explaining myself?
I'm fully understanding. I have a lot of people who do similar stuff, whether they're museum curators or art curators or work for a government museum, so on and so forth, and they feel the same thing, and they've done very similar applications to you. Early in 2013, I spoke a lot about family crests and how destructive they can be and how they can pass on cursing energy.
360, your name and where you're calling from?
Hi, Andrew. Larry here up in Washington.
Hey, Larry. How you doing today?
Excellent this morning. A really excellent show today.
Well, thank you very much. So how you doing today?
Today, I was going to ask you a quick question about the family trees or family crests. I was looking at the family crests when you brought that up to see, working on self-worth, clearing that emotional hooks, trying to find where it is, because it seems to come up and slow me down when I'm in creation. With my soul family, it just goes and then stops. Then we go, and then we stop. And it takes a major energetic push to get through it. So when I was looking up the crests, my other computer's wireless keyboard started going nuts when I would Google up a couple of them. And the question I had was really, do you go through your patriarchal side, your matriarchal side, or which side do you look for a crest?
Both sides, because spiritual crests are a spiritual concept that are created so that a soul family has a group of ingrained contracts that help the theme of the people come. So when there's a family crest and it's a part of your energetic field, when other souls come to your family lineage to determine if they're going to come into that lineage, they use that crest as basically a theme to create soul pattern contracts. And at times, soul crests have been absolutely hijacked by the forces of domination and control to create military organizations, scientific organizations, religious organizations, so on and so forth. The cookers, everything, the shoemakers, all of them had a specialized crest that had been hijacked in some way, shape, or form. And what I advise for absolutely everybody that has a family crest is to eliminate your contracts with it that have any fine print. And you can creatively come up with ways to allow the crest to still interact with you, but not in a negative soul contract manner.
Do you consider these fine prints to be sort of like emotional hooks? I know we're just using semantics and language, but the hooks other beings have into,
Well, most of the time, the way the fine print is written is so that you get into a negative habit pattern. And that habit pattern means you're constantly looking to resolve karma. But the fine print has so many aspects of karma to deal with, it's literally looking for the worst situations for you to deal with. It's like set on the high sensitivity setting for the worst situation.
Seems like biological family is good at that.
Yes, biological families are very good at that. It's their function.
It's their function to be contrast. They're the only beings that have enough power or ability to bring that in. Yeah, that is interesting. I don't feel a connection with my biological family as much as the soul family for some reason. It's like they are unrelated, even though we're biologically related. It's always confused me.
Well, it's not meant to be easy to understand. I mean, I've met people that have family crests that are absolutely dark lineage crests. And unfortunate to say this, the Spanish Inquisition did a really, really good job at hijacking family crests all throughout the world. They had specialty dark minion agents that went around and looked for anyone with a family crest, captured that person, demonically tortured them, and made sure that they got that spiritual contract in an energetic form, bound it into a crystalline substance, dominated it with a group of 100 prayer people in a negative situation, and then rebonded that crystal with a person that was in that type of crest family, and they literally hijacked the crests.
Oh, yeah, we have a Spanish fort here. The Spanish were the first to land, and they had a fort. It was demolished. They rebuilt it, and they put a veterans, I don't know, what would you call it, memorial type thing with everyone's name that's in the tribes that went to any of the wars. My name's misspelled, and they actually put a few of the wrong people on there, but it's still there in a big, huge, sort of like monument, Maybe there's some of that there.
I think that's a little different of an energy for you, but how do I put this? The kind of contractual message that I'm sensing in you right now is about understanding that you have to go through these hours of power every day. You have to nurture them. You just as a time of your day, you're just really active with the highest amount of energy. You want to be out of a social situation from that. And I'm sensing that your habit pattern is keeping you in a social situation where your peak of power is being shared with all these other people. But you need to share it with the star watching energies again, because, you're a tremendously powerful, Mayan lifetime in you, the Lower Guatemala, Upper Belize, as well as Incan, Arapaho. I mean, you got all sorts of South American sky watching nations in you. And you spent many, many, many hundreds of lifetimes being a sky watching shaman. And that's what's feeding your crown chakra right now. That's what's keeping you in the consciousness exploration. That's what's connecting you to soul family. And you just need to resaturate yourself with the star energy. And I think if you learn to share energy of those social moments with people outdoors, you'll be able to transmit a lot more of your soul spark in understanding to them.
Excellent. Well, yeah, I do find myself get out of the tub in the evening. I take a really hot bath every night, clear, clean with crystals and salt, and then I'll go outside in the backyard all fenced off, totally naked, and just look at the stars. That's really excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So great. That's really interesting to know.
Well, thank
we'll be
you.
doing a lot of that.
Yeah, and I'll be seeing you up in Mount Shasta.
You're darn right, with a bunch of family.
Andy. Look forward to meeting you in Mount Shasta.
Early in 2013, I spoke a lot about family crests and how destructive they can be and how they can pass on cursing energy. And the family crests I talk about in the government, banking, and media. It's important that you start looking where family crests are, who are the owners of particular museums that you may work at or facilities you go and there's a family crest up there, and you make revocations specifically for these family crests. You can box them all into one, or if there's one big family crest you really work through a lot, they're the benefactors, whatever, you make your own private revocation so they can no longer entangle and exchange energy in your unseen world.
I can't believe I've not thought about that. Yeah, that's a kind of, the no-brainer. Yeah, point. Done. God, I've got a lot of homework. This is good. Thank you.
So the cool part about that homework is you get to out-create a sacred geometry crest.
Well,
you can beat, they're so easy to beat. So easy to beat.
You have, this is so reassuring. Oh gosh, there's another thing. What happens when you are the one who actually has the family crest?
Are you the sole heir to the family crest?
No, not the sole heir, and I'm not a male, so yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter if you're male or female in the energy world. So if you're not the sole heir, and most of the time there's other heirs that are out there, you just don't know that they're there. But if you were the sole heir, it would be different. But because there are other members to the family, what you can do is create a, here, I'll just give the description that I have for it. So you'll surround yourself with a disco ball around your head, and another disco ball around your whole body, and then a third disco ball around your feet. So a disco ball around your head, a disco ball around your feet, and a disco ball that encompasses your whole auric body, each going in a different direction. Each of those disco balls has 10,000 different mirrors reflecting back everything that the family crest is projecting on you to the original creator of the family crest or curse.
Wow. Yeah, sorry, I'm just getting a flavor of that.
Yeah, and you can make more and more disco balls all around your private center, energy centers, your heart chakra, your crown, your third eye, your sacred feminine areas, each having their own individual disco ball that reflects back laser-focused, targeted distortions.
Yeah, I'm almost setting this up like I could set this up like it's the whole mandala, no? So, okay.
Yeah, it's a mind construct that can stay in place. It's just a matter of empowering it.
Okay. Well,
right?
This is quite poignant, especially do you have time?
Sure. Go ahead.
So there was a bit of fear when I got, I guess, a young teenager, just was also observing in terms of family crests, family curses, or let's say DNA characteristics or karma, or, depending on how you wish to, what terminology or grammar one wants to use. There was also this thing with, for instance, my father having a mental... manic depression. On my father's side, his sister ended up, nervous breakdowns, strokes, and also his younger, his brother as well. So what I'm saying is that there was also part of me who was thinking, oh well, this is quite strong. Is this something that it ends up being inevitable? and I got into doing a particular type of Vajrayana Buddhist practice, which helps to alleviate any sort of mental illness, because there was a fear that would happen to me.
So fear is one thing, genetics are another.
Yes.
So part of clearing the fear is understanding there is a root genetic cause. And the family crest has been impressed onto your DNA that is a potential, and it just takes fear to activate that potential. So the next layer here is doing your own psychic surgery on the DNA. And the way you do this is, as you have the disco ball in your crown and in your feet, and then the other one, you're going to see a DNA spiral come out of your feet and come out of your crown. So a white spiral coming out of your feet going up, creating the double helix, and then a red spiral going up and a white spiral going down in the opposite direction. And this will allow you, where you come together in the heart and the solar plexus, to bring your third eye as part of the DNA surgery process to look for the individual rung that has been impressed by the family crest to make that a potential of through fear activation. And it's an actual rung in the DNA that you can literally remove that DNA rung of fear and activation of mental depression and anything else that's under there, liver disease, all that stuff. Because all that is passing debt forward into the future, so a magical practitioner in the past doesn't have to deal with the negative ailments they created from negative magic. That's what a family crest does, puts the debt, the actual physical harsh debt on the future generations.
I hear what you're saying. Understood.
Yeah. Now, DNA surgery is not hard. It's visualization, and it's a coming to a knowingness that there is one rung that you simply have to remove. And it will not harm you, because that's the harmful projected rung.
Yes.
As soon as you were born and you came through the forgetting of the birth canal, the laser-targeted focus of the family crest altered your DNA. And you have the sovereign right and legacy to your natural co-creative process.
Next caller is 818-818-849. Your name and where you're calling on?
Hi, Andrew. This is Erica from California.
Hi, Erica from California. How can I help you today?
Well, I've got this situation. I don't know if it would entail kind of a reading or looking into it, but my brother and I have been dealing with this problem with our aunt. And it's such an ongoing thing. We moved to this farm when I was 4 and he was 6 with our mom and dad, and our aunt lived there, my mom's sister. And we've recently come to kind of like start unpeeling everything and realizing that we've been sort of held hostage psychically by this woman for our whole lives and controlled, and it's been interesting because as I peel it away and my brother and I work on the healing, I find myself getting psychically attacked by her a lot in dreams when I first wake up in the morning. And I was just kind of wondering if you had any, well, I know you have insight into it. So
I do. How did you find out about the show?
I found it through a link by this man named Bill Ballard who posted Walking in Spirit. So that's how I found you.
So you heard the Walking in Energy show, and you heard me talk about that, and you decided to call.
Absolutely. And actually, I've been listening to your podcast every night, like just from the past, because it's so amazing, and I feel things lifting off of me every time I sit and listen. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I found this guy.
Well, thank you. One of the reasons I asked that is as more and more people come to find the type of energy that I'm presenting, I experience more people that are innately understanding they're being psychically attacked by family members. And your aunt is a classic example of someone that will never break an incarnation pattern until the day of the event. And your aunt is stuck in the incarnation pattern of being a progenitor of psychic parasites. She has been doing this from lifetime to lifetime to lifetime, going 350 years back. She's stuck. Before that lifetime of 350 years, she was a nun in the Catholic Church who was a healer, and she was terribly abused by the church. She was a light healer. She could put her hands on people and they would be healed. Wow. And from that point, they used and abused her for political purposes by healing ruling members' families or daughters or sons that would go out and get sexually transmitted diseases. So she never was allowed to heal people for their exact purpose. And there were a number of very dark rituals that were performed on her to keep her locked into that pattern. So you have to have a little compassion for her.
Yeah,
but at the same time, you can't live with her anymore.
Oh my goodness, no, yeah, my brother and I have been working on healing each other, like extricating ourselves from this, because I can't deal with it anymore.
Right. Honestly, she's in your sacred space even now, and she's very angry that I'm reading her energies and trying to attack me, quite literally, because she's a very powerful psychic. But everything that she's sending back to me, I'm a mirror, and it's reflecting back at her, and it's not harming her. Well, sort of. It is in one way, but in another way, it's her own energy, and I'm not the one that's causing the harm. And that's the type of technique you're going to have to learn, is how to turn your sacred space into a mirror that reflects all energy from her back to you, from you, all energy directed you back to her.
I'm so glad to hear you say that, because last night before I went to bed, I meditated and I prayed to Creator and brothers, sisters in spirit, and they suggested, that I surround myself in golden light, which I did, and then I put mirrors all around myself, because I said, whatever comes into me, I want to be reflected back to her, because it's my soul gut feeling that until she looks at this, it won't stop.
You're right. You're right.
So,
it won't. I got a question for you. Did she cook a lot for you when you were young?
No, she didn't.
Okay. Has she ever cooked for you ever?
She has.
Okay. Is she good cook? Bad cook?
Not the greatest.
Okay.
No.
Well, the way she transfers psychic parasites is through cooking.
Interesting.
Okay. When she can't get a psychic parasite into a person through cooking, she'll just blast you with energy until you put down your walls and are not able to endure the constant attack anymore. Wow. And before you became aware, you were an open door for energy for her. And you still have access, you're still allowing access of energy into her, from her to you. And I call this the sacred space. And it's coming to a point where you need to do out loud prayers, not to external sources, but to your own energy field that is reinvesting and re-empowering your boundary levels, that tells what any spirit or form of energy is allowed to interact with you. The mirror is a great tool for the outer boundary, but it should be in layers. There should be an outer mirror followed up by solid words of saying no. No entity that I have not expressly given permission is allowed anywhere in my energetic field, and then be backed up by a powerful mental imagery of a mirror. And that should be done a couple times daily over the next few weeks. Because once you start repelling her energy, she's going to come at you like a tidal wave action, waiting for you to put down your defenses. Mm-hmm. Okay? As this full moon gets more and more, she's going to be very powerful because she's so in need of energy and so hurt as a soul. Mm-hmm. You have to have compassion, but understanding it's your sacred space and she's not allowed to violate your free will in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, The next thing is you have to eliminate all spiritual contracts you have with the woman, quite literally. And that's going to begin to isolate it out loud. Okay. She's your aunt. At this point, you can say to your energy field, my aunt, fill in her name, all spiritual contracts and negative incarnation habit patterns that I have endured with this woman are now coming to an end. all fine print that keeps an open doorway into my energy is now erased. And you need to get very creative with it. Describe memories where she attacked you and saying, this is not allowed. This spiritual contract has come to an end. Because she's not projecting at you at a single moment. She's projecting at you for your entire lifetime.
Yes.
So you have to understand she's literally outside of time, projecting at you as a young child, as a middle-aged, so on and so forth, and to your brother. And you're reaching this point where you need to identify the points of time where she was very negative against you and eliminate the contract from that time as well as in the present. Every time you eliminate a contract, you realize there's a whole tree that connects to it, a whole branch system. And that's what you need to do, is to begin to identify it. I mean, write a little story about your experiences with her. And then as you're writing the story, there's significant times that you can say, this is contract energy here. She was a negative woman. She constantly was trying to dominate me in 1996. Well, all spiritual contracts from 1996 I now remove from my energy field is what you can say.
Okay.
Okay.
And this is something my brother and I can do together on the
Correct.
phone, too. And
Correct.
That's awesome that he and I kind of have each other to... He's the one who kind of woke me up to it in the first place, because he's very much into Lakota stuff, and I... Yeah. But it's... wow.
He's in the Lakota stuff. Can you do a sweat lodge with him?
I did one 2 weeks ago. I did my first one over in Scottsdale, because he's a member of the Lakota tribe, even though he's not technically Lakota. They adopted him. Mm-hmm. And, I did my first one a couple of weeks ago. It was awesome.
Oh, that's very good. Did they teach you about how to pray inside the sweat lodge?
Yeah, we did 3 rounds. Okay. And we did the prayer on the first or second round. Yeah. Okay.
Do you remember the prayers?
They were in Lakota, and then we all gave individual prayers.
Okay. You can repeat your individual prayers in the same concept and redirect that whole concept to being about releasing the spiritual contracts in a form of prayer, and it'll be even more doubly effective.
Okay.
You can do your own personal ceremony where you light a fire, and during that 1 hour or 2 hours that the fire is burning, your purpose is to find yourself connected to that same concept of prayer and sacred time. And that's when you'll find yourself creative enough with your prayers to literally unravel the Gordian knot of contracts that she has with you and your brother.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Do you have any other questions?
Well, in so much as how that affects the rest of my life, because I'm sort of at a career crossroads, and I know that I just have always had the feeling that things are really going to take off right now, but there's always this little thing in the back of my mind because I feel her in my life, and I don't want it to affect anything. You know what I mean?
Okay. That's the thing. You're at this point where you got to reclaim your free will and do some ceremonial expressive rituals. Things are going to be a lot more clearer after that. A lot more clear after that. And, I know you're in a tough situation and you want this other stuff to happen, but it happens in its own due time.
Right.
Okay? It happens in its own due time.
Okay. Right on.
Okay?
Okay. Well, thank you so much. That was everything I needed to hear. And I did wake up the other morning and I felt immediately I was being attacked, and I said her name and I said, "You're not allowed in my sacred space, and this in my energy system or in my body temple." So at least I guess intuitively I was sort of on the right track. So
yeah, you just have to get more creative with your words. And if you find yourself being poetical when you're saying it, that's wonderful. And if you can even make a poem or write it out, and so it's all conjunctive and collective and all part of your full expression, you're bringing even more power to it.
With that, we have been informed by our intrepid producer, Laura Lee Solomon, that the calls are firing up. So Laura Lee Solomon, who is the first contestant on Adventures into Reality? As I put her on the spot. Oh, they hung up. Our first contestant is here. 707, your name and where you're calling from?
Hallelujah, it's a miracle. Oh, my Lord. Andrew Bartzis. My name is Amaranta, and I'm calling from California, and I'd like to tell you a story. Back in 2012, when all of this was, like, kind of getting crazy, I went to see Amelia Benz, and I was going to do a weekend-long meditation conference. I go to put gas in my car before my hour-long drive to Sacramento, where the retreat was. I get to a gas station, and my hand slips, and I end up spraying my face with gasoline. And then I'm closing my eyes, asking for help, and I know that I had seen a bunch of people at the gas station. Suddenly, no one's around to help me. Finally, I take off my sweater, I pat my face dry, and I feel safe enough to open my eyes. And then I was like, okay, either someone's trying to prevent me from going to this meditation thing, or maybe I need to not go. So I decided to go home, shower, run a little late. I made it to the meditation place. During a break, I met Lance White, and then I asked him, I said, hey, what are you excited about lately? And he said, Andrew Bartzis, we just recorded the Galactic Historian session. He had just recorded it like a week or two, and then ever since then I've been listening to you nonstop. So I'm so excited to talk to you.
Wow, that is a cool little story of synchronicities.
Yes, and the funny thing is, she did an interview called Buddha at the Gas Pump, and so I literally had to be a Buddha at the gas pump and not freak out and like continue on my mission.
Very cool, very cool, very cool. Yeah. So what kind of questions did you want to ask today?
I would like to ask firstly, because I'm dealing with it daily, is why did I choose such a itchy skin suit to incarnate into, and what can I do about it?
You had no other choice. If you wanted to come in on the day of your birth, which meant you would accept an imprint from the stars and an imprint from the 7 previous generations of ancestors, you had to take that skin suit. You had done so much good in all of the other skin suits that they were going to do whatever that they could do, the system, to make sure that you couldn't incarnate into those bodies. You would have taken on the most severest of karmic debt and curses. So you had the Volkswagen Bug, or the thing, or whatever you want to call it, you know, the Ford Impala. It was the only skin suit you had that could bring you in and not give you debt that would murder you or turn you into the most evil and vilest person.
Interesting. I feel a lot of healing energy passing through my system now, so thank you.
So there's more there, and there's the reason you earned that, let's just say, not so badge of honor. When you do good in other lifetimes, it wrinkles through time. And then there are times we do such unique goodness for souls who are going to change the rest of the world. And there was a scenario in 1703 where you were an abbey in France and you were a nun who had a priest above you that would abuse adult people but not children, as opposed to the rest of the church, which would be a variety of whatever they wanted. And you became a healer. You understood herbs, and they actually trained you how to brew beer, which was very, very rare to allow nuns to brew beer. You brewed a type of beer that was used after a big local battle, and this beer was used to clean wounds and stuff like that. And it actually healed the wounds. And there was this attempt to say that you were of, let's just say, a witch in origin, but that was quickly proven because it was the recipe of the beer of the people of the church. You were taken aside and given more training, almost to like become a surgeon or a doctor or something to that effect. But you quickly discovered you could heal with your hands, and you were brought deeper into the church and deeper into the church until you ended up at the Vatican as a personal healer to the Pope. And he would rent you out to different world leaders to go and heal their children and so forth. and you had a unique opportunity as a healer who understood a source of God was working with you, that if you healed people over a period of a lifetime, even though it will be a lifetime of servitude, that those people would ultimately be able to make different choices in different lifetimes. So you kind of know all of the secrets of the kings and queens of Europe because you healed all of them, which would mean this lifetime, if you were into one of those advanced skin suits, you would be healing people left and right. So they're trying to take your healing skill away. What I must let you know is you can do this in this skin suit. This skin suit has skill sets that you have not even begun to understand yet.
Okay. I would like to know more about that. I'm beginning to embark on potentially a class that will take 2 years of commitment. Learning. I already started it, but I quit. It's a clairvoyant training program here in the East Bay Area, and I do healing practices already. I'm trained in Reiki, and I've also studied the energy healing at a few other schools here in the Bay Area. And I want to be in service in this way, but I also don't want to be poor, and I also want to see if I can utilize my artistic talents. So I'm on I don't know if I need to be doing like Red Road type modalities. I have a ton of feathers that come to me, or if I need to go more traditional healing modalities.
I want to bring Kathy in here to bring in a psychic business perspectives from the woman's point of view, and then I'm going to add more on what's going to need for your Red Road, Blue Road ceremonial expression.
Can I just ask you, I couldn't hear quite clearly about what kind of course is it that you were going to embark on?
Well, it's a clairvoyant training program, so people come in every Monday in the city of San Francisco, and they receive healing based on a problem that they're encountering in their lives. So we look at, the past life implications that they're still carrying forward, and we try to update the contracts and then offer them one of 3 healing energies, which is either physical, universal life, is a Christ force energy, or a physical healing energy.
Okay, I get you. Well, when I look at you and your energy and, let's say work and career and not be poor, all mixed in together, I would say that I actually don't really see that this course that you're thinking about will bring you what you want. I think the course itself is interesting and there is probably things to learn. But for me, when I look at your energy, it looks like you don't really gel that well together. And by that, I mean more about what you can take away from it and how you can, apart from help other people, how you can turn that into monetary value for yourself as well. To me, it's... when I look at your brain, let's call it, your energy, your thought process, your thinking energy, it's like you need a lot more clarity. You're very comfortable in the gray area, but you also like ABC, order and cause and effect. And to me, that doesn't provide enough of that structure for you. So some of the concepts or the ideologies that they come out with are... well, I don't want to say it's like woo-woo, but it's a bit too much for you. It's not quantifiable enough. So you have a little bit of problem with that sort of stuff. For me, when I look at your energy, I would say have a look around you, because there are some really great little groups that exist in your area. And by in your area, I'd say within 40 minutes at the most travel distance. And these groups on their own, on the surface, they don't look super interesting, but the people that you will encounter in there are very interesting, and you can learn a lot from them, and techniques and things that will help you add this to your string of bows of talents and skills. I would find something like that for you is probably more appropriate if I look at your end goal. of where you're going with all of this. I'm being a little bit vague because you're just so multi-talented. It's very difficult to help direct you in something that is a choice that will give you everything that you want. There are so many things that you could do, so many things that you would be good at, but whether or not they'll get you to where you want to go is a completely different story. So first thing, I'd like you to look around for what you would consider smaller, interesting groups, not necessarily a classroom or school scenario, but any kind of scenario. The other thing that I would like you to look at is go back to your own mind and look about maybe 3 or 4 years back, because you had started embarking on a type of healing avenue or road or path that you kind of I wouldn't say had great success, but it really rocked you, and it was very difficult for you to comprehend what was going on. And so you were a bit, I don't want to use the word scared of it, but you're a bit hesitant and you just let it go. I'd like you to just let your mind go back to that time and have a think about what it was that you were doing, what you were learning, what you were practicing at that time, because this is something that you could really fine-tune, really home it in and amplify it to do for your own healing and for others. And I think it would be an awesome thing to do. You'd be excellent at it. It's just a bit daunting. I guess daunting is a better word than scared.
There's a mentor that I have who's a very, very talented shaman in a tribe in the central coast of California. I don't know if you're referring to maybe an experience with him. I had a very interesting experience when he took me to do a medicine back ceremony by a waterfall, and I heard rattling around the treetops, and it sounded clear as day, and I was confused why no one else was looking around the way I was looking around to see the source of all of this loud noise. So I don't know if maybe that's the person that you're referring to.
It's not as much a person as a discovery of something that just made you, ooh, I'm not sure, I don't know if I want to continue with this. So it's possibly the experience you had, whether it's with this particular shaman or someone else, I couldn't say for sure. But certainly it's something that made you, gasp and drop, like put it down. And I'll just think about that, I'm not sure. And then you went and did other things. So it's something that was striking enough for you to, let's just call it draw breath. But it's something that you also don't need to fear or have hesitancy over. It's just that time it was a surprise and you weren't ready for it. It was a shock. And the power of it was just, too strong. When I look at your energy, I also can see that you've heard things before, not just rattling in the trees, but you've heard like voice, and I don't mean like schizophrenic hearing voice. I mean, you're just like, what was that? Did that boom from the sky? Wait, did they just talk to me? But there's no one there. And it's this auditory thing that you have going, which also can get very amplified. And once that gets very amplified for you, it's also a little bit spooky because you just don't know where that's coming from. What I'd say to you about that is that you just consider it coming from your inner voice, that you're tapping into things that are around you. If you can think of it more like that, it's not as intimidating as what your imagination might think it is.
Thank you.
Because it's a scary thing, and especially when you don't even understand the message.
No, it's a funny story about that. My roommate also kind of dabbles in shamanism of the Mexican region, and he passed around the pelt of a jaguar. I heard clear as day the growling, the throat growling of this jaguar, like a few times, and I looked around like, does anybody else hear this? And is someone making this noise and they're just messing with me? And then I understood it was just for me. That was very, very moving. I cried. I had to withdraw myself because I was just moved to tears from that
So now I want to let you know that those are the skills of the skin suit coming through. So the skin suit that you're in is a very heavily empathic skill set, skin suit, much more than any of the other ones, which can be a very big downfall to sensitive beings who are trying to train themselves to a scale of what is loud volume that's painful versus something that's non-painful. So your body, think of it as a human instrument right now, and it is an instrument tuned to the empathic nature of others. That's your innate skill built in, and others are seen and unseen. You have an innate ability to communicate to the unseen world flawlessly, going from one state of consciousness to the other without a pause or a break in the continuity of consciousness. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, that does make sense.
Right. That is more rare and unique than I can ever describe to you. That is the highest path of spiritual enlightenment, is to be able to go from one thought to the other without a breaking of continuity of thought, mind, spirit, the brain. And if people truly contemplate that, there is almost always a break in your continuity of consciousness when you're going from thought to thought to thought. The moment of living in the now, when you are an empathic instrument in the state of flow, which is all of your chakra points opened and spinning, that is your higher state of expression. Your skin suit provides a talent, meaning that you'll be able to flow large volumes of life force through you for specific empathic purposes, like empathing the very nature of a storm that's coming to affect an area, or an earthquake, or anything else weather or ground related, the way a mountain grows, where crystals are going to be formed in mountains, and how you can go and harvest them if you should choose, because you understand the pressure changes in reality. You are a diviner of the way reality is transforming. That is how much your DNA skin suit, it was believed to be the worst for you. But you can turn that around and take everything that's negative and create a ceremonial life process for yourself where none of the negative can affect you. We live in an upside down and inside out world, and you can create mirrors of the self and reflections of the self that teach you how to make it the right way all the way through. And this is where you're at. The self-healing and self-discipline training. I agree with Kathy that this 2-year class for you is not going to show you what you want. I really think only you can show you what you want. You will need to take some form of higher education imprint when it comes to the healing skills and the healing classes that are there. And I think you take those so that you have a huge toolbox. I think you should sample a bunch of different healing modalities and simply apply it to what it is that you are going to be doing. So your first expression with me was sitting next to, with Lance and seeing that. I think that very much applies. Look from my perspective of a person that, did this thing with Lance, and then, the next week, there you are sitting next to him. This makes me think, in a potential way, are you the next me? Do you see that?
I'm humbled.
Well, now you have to go from humbled to empowered. I see you in every chance and position of not just being an on-air personality, but being a healer of immense status if you should choose to take on the job. And it is a job, a fourth dimensional job that doesn't keep you entangled in third density bullshit.
Well, to answer that, if that is a question, I'm obsessed with everything esoteric, and I've been so for the last many years. I left the corporate world. I'm, trying to get by with jobs and trying to deal with the 3D world, but any opportunity to, learn and grow and help and practice. Sometimes the healing happens without my consent, quote unquote. Like when I worked at a summer camp and there's a group of kids, all of a sudden I feel the healing start, and I'm like, okay, here we go. I guess the healing wants to happen right now. So then I'm giving like a big group of kids a mass healing at the same time, which is really fun. How do I get my health under control? I'm sorry, you were going to ask something?
No, you want to finish your health questions.
There's some inner bleeding going on in the intestines, potential candida, and just immense itching of the skin for my eczema.
All right, so anything dealing with the skin, you're going to need to do gallbladder cleanses and candida control. There are a number of products out there that are very good for candida control that don't require you to be, crapping your pants off for 9 months. Because a lot of them are like that, and they don't actually, they tell you to do that when you don't actually clear up the candida. All right, that is our music. Hold on right there, and when we come back from the music, we'll finish up with you. And welcome back, everyone. Mandy, are you there?
Amaranta, is that who you're referring to?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. I was reading a chat room.
No problem.
So I have a product you can use for the candida. I've used it myself, and it's very, very good. And the name of the product is called Colorex with a K. K-O-L-O-R-E-X.
Thank you.
If you get the one with the letter C, it is far less effective. The one with the K is undoubtedly the best, hands down, anti-candida control system that's ever been out there. Nothing else compares to it.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. And within 10 days, your candida can be, mostly cleared up. You just must be careful that you have a big die-off, and you could have detox feelings. You just, on that second, third, and fourth day, be very aware of your body if you've got heavy candida. Okay, so now I'll talk more about what it is that you can do in a ceremonial expression to solidify the reality that's around you. You have had one of those humbling experiences, and the universe is asking you to work at a much bigger scale, dream at a much bigger level, and to take this spring and early summer to truly think about how big do you truly want to work. And how much effort do you need to reach into your soul to pull forth the discipline to train yourself with all the different coping skills, learning meditation classes, and going and taking a bunch of smaller things to self-educate yourself. And then to put yourself on that course of not just being that humble person that's holding power, but that humble person who is sharing power freely. That isn't poor, that isn't a zealot humanitarian giving away their power as soon as they get more power.
I accept that. I am ready to go as big as I can. I feel that I had a dream recently where, I was feeling kind of self-conscious about eczema and things like that. And not to sound superficial, but they showed me the walking down a runway model. You're walking down the runway like a model. They're like, you're a supermodel, you're a spokesperson, you're meant to be seen in the spotlight. And again, not to be vain, but it just kind of uplifted me because as a woman, we put so much value on our appearance. But yeah, I would love to serve.
Well, just to let you know, I have a similar skin condition also, and it can get pretty severe at times, where it actually can affect my face.
Exactly.
Well, I've learned to deal with that, to learn to be public with it, to understand that if I take on any of the projections of the vanity of others, I defeat my purpose of being a sovereign, neutral being. trying to be in balance from moment to moment to moment, because my awareness allows me to see the exchange of energy that's going on in the seen and the unseen world. And my sovereignty extends into the unseen world, and it does not have a cold, firm hand. It has the hand of a heart with an honest heart to make sure that beings that are predatory and abusive are not in my frequency, but those that are truly loving and exchanging and recycling the gifts of life are allowed into that frequency of self-expression with me. And you have to make that choice. You know there are people in your life you need to drop kick out of it. They may be fun, they may be enthusiastic, but ultimately they're not going to provide you anything on your journey into being a sovereign being because they're too dependent upon you.
Yes, I've shed many friends, and now I'm very choosy.
You need to choose the quality friends versus quantity. And I think that's the conundrum you've been stuck in the last 2 years. One quality friend will give you more beneficial life force over the year than 10 non-quality friends, quantitative friends.
This is true.
That's what you need in your life. You need those personal relationships and companionships and mentors in your life. That's the level of discipline, stability you need to create. So not only can you finish your transformation, but understand it during the process. So that when the transformation is done, stepping into your power is as easy as turning your car on with a key and deciding where you want to go. That takes the humbleness of the woman now still sitting in that car in the future when you're ready to make that journey. Darling, I must move on to the next caller. You have been a fantastic teacher for a lot of people out there.
Thank you, Andrew. I hope to talk again soon. Thank you.
I'm sure that we will. I'm sure that we will.
Okay, so the ceremony that you're talking about in the spring and summer, I should just kind of put something together and whatever flows, just...
No, you need to make firm plans and goals, and that you don't execute these firm plans or goals until like the 21st of June. That is your, college, report date due of your goals for life. So between now and the 21st to 23rd of June is you're writing your life paper, which is who I want to be and what disciplines do I need to enforce around myself so I may remain disciplined in my life path. What are my hobbies? What are my recreation versus true source? And you have to have recreation time in that.
Yes.
This is where you go into what I call the placenta of the void, where the earth is nurturing you with the unlimited stream of information so you can have an unlimited point of view when you go to manifest it here in the world.
Okay.
All right, darling, you have a beautiful day.
Thank you. Blessings to the both of you. Bye-bye.
Kathy, that was a special caller.
I know. Just such an amazing being, such an amazing one. And to be able to even have that channeling of energy to be able to talk to the weather, I mean, wow, you could feel her energy. It was awesome.
Exactly, awesome. There are many ways to see the world. And when we have our callers come in, they're bringing their perception of the world. And then when Kathy and I also bring our perspectives to perceptions, there are times that we can see strategies that people have created from long ago, and they don't have no clue that their intellect or their ego is creating strategies that look like synchronicities in real life. Like that class. Both you and I knew right away it wasn't going to be the right for her. That was an ego strategy, trying to create a moment where she would have had to have heavily invest something and had to have the ego make the choice of vanity. Do I want to go? Do I not want to go? Do I want to go? Am I going to learn anything? Am I better than them? So on and so forth. It would have been the endless chatter in the brain even while she was in the class.
That's so true. Another thing I also, really felt from her was the sense of powerlessness, that she sometimes will just put herself into situations so that she becomes more powerless.
Yes.
you see it every day in so many people, and it's like you've got all these skills, you've got an incredible amount of ability and talent, and throughout, especially for the last 10 years, time and time again, she will find herself or put herself in situations where she has become powerless. And then the issue of, oh no, what am I going to do, comes up, rather than forge ahead with your own knowingness. It's tough to watch people sometimes.
Exactly, it's tough. But at the same time, the powerful ones don't get the easy routes, do they?
That's true. And that is so, so true. And
they have earned the hard way.
Exactly, especially like even with the skin issues. It's like that is a very big challenge that one has to take on. But at the same time, because you have that challenge, you are then forced to, well, not forced, but you have to train yourself to look beyond everything and not focus on image or vanity or other people's opinions, and still exist in your own life, your own world, forge forward. And as you do that and you gain more confidence and understand who you are as a being, it then becomes less important. And often, the situation doesn't always dissipate, but it definitely decreases.
Oh, exactly.
Heather, are you there? No, go ahead.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hello.
how you doing today?
I'm good. I was muted, so you didn't hear my background noise.
It's all good. How you doing today?
I'm good, Andrew. How are you?
I'm doing very good. How can I help you today?
Well, I don't know what information do you need to do these readings, because you are absolutely amazing.
All you need to tell me is about your first 10 minutes of the day. Combine it to about 40 seconds and be about as accurate as you can about when you first woke up. If you remembered a dream, what you're doing when you're describing that first 10 minutes of the day, I'm reading the infinite dream world you who goes through the process of having to become a finite person. And that's all I need to know about you. So.
All right. Well, when I woke up today, I remembered I was having a dream that I was in a car driving down the street, and it became gloomy. And I noticed on the side of the road there was some electrical storm or some electrocution. Somebody had been electrocuted, and there was still purple lightning all around the scene, and I was rubbernecking as I would drive by, and I saw all this lightning still happening out of some kind of box on the road or something. And it turns out, like, one of my friend's moms, it was in one of her complexes that she rented out. Other than that, I was kind of groggy when I woke up today, and I was ready to go, though, with the afternoon.
Right after you woke up, did you rub your eyes? Did you think, that was a weird dream? Tell me about that moment as you woke up.
I was just trying to figure out what it meant. I didn't rub my eyes because I have keratoconus, and eye rubbing is a no-no. It just causes my condition to worsen. So I can't rub my eyes.
I've tuned into your energy.
Okay.
And the first layer of energy that's coming from you, as the sun rises and falls, there's this upload and download process. And as you woke up this morning, you were going through a major, major upload process. And this is you, the person that's trying to interact with this ever-present, ever-co-creating world, telling the universe, hey, what do I do next? And the universe is now returning with a message, and it's been doing this over and over and over again. And this message is about understanding the fire medicine that's within you. You are a fire shaman this lifetime, and you've been a fire shaman many other lifetimes. When I say fire shaman is when there is a candle or a flame or a fireplace or an outdoor fire, you are able to connect to the element of fire and function with it as an excess energy. And you are always able to use the energy of the fire to fuel your life path. And this is something that's been going on in you since you were quite young. And the passion and spontaneity of a fire person is literally, they can start a fire anywhere, a spirit fire, and it'll help fan this energies in others. And that's something that's represented in the soul flame that is you. You are here to spark the knowledge and wisdom and path of others. And you've been doing this over and over in your lifetime. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
And for you to understand the illumination of the fire shaman is about reconnecting to your personal ceremonial times with fire. You know, you're such a bright soul, but at the same time you're blinding yourself with your own brightness. And that's something go ahead.
I was going to tell you, this might be pertinent. When I was born, I was born with forceps, and my mother had a number of mirrors set up at different ways for some reason. And the second that I was born, there was a fire that ignited, about 10 miles away in some building. It was an electrical fire or something. It ignited. The second that I was born, it just, poof, it started. So I don't know if that might be pertinent or not.
Oh, it is pertinent because it directly relates to the dream and the electrical energy. Okay? The electrical energy dream you had was part of the dream world telling you that the actual energy in the wires above you is also fire energy. So you can connect to electrical grids and understand that that's fire energy too.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to explain how this functions. But you have to go through this stage where you transfer knowledge into wisdom through action. And there have been times of great inaction in your life, and the only reason was there wasn't somebody else for you to co-burn the flame with. And I know you've had multiple friends that have come in and out of your life that helped fuel this path, but right now you don't have the physical person next to you for you to go through the next part. You understand what I'm saying?
That sounds accurate. Absolutely.
And you need to change that, quite literally. Even if it's a person that's not appealing to you, you need to have that person in your life to go through this next part of the change. Because what's going to happen is you're going to share your passion spark with that person, and that person's going to share their passion spark with you back. And even if it's a temporary situation, non-sexual, just two people coming together as friends to go through this ceremonial experience of fire. Because, again, you're a bright white light soul that doesn't come from Earth. You weren't born here. And in fact, you weren't even born on a planet your first time. You came in as this incarnate soul. You were born into the universe and the openness of the void of space, separate of a planet, which means you have very, very different rules when you choose to take on a body. When you got caught up into the galactic drama of Earth, it was because you were trying to free a number of other brothers and sisters that got tied up into it. And when you came in here, you kind of knew that it was going to get really bad, but you made sure you came through with friends, like a brute squad. I'll simply call it that. You came in here and said, all right, we're fighting for our brothers and sisters. And as you began fighting for your brothers and sisters, you realized there were millions and millions of other people trapped here too, and so many other people trying to fight for their brothers and sisters. And this is why you took on the fire shaman of Earth. This is the first wisdom of Earth that you lived. You came in about 29,000 years ago, and at that point in time, Lemuria and Atlantis had gone through massive destructions, but they weren't completely destroyed. The major city centers were protected by energetic domes, but there were thousands of people that lived outside the domes that were back to self-sustenance living. They had literally returned to the most basic Stone Age peoples. And you came in as one of those people, separate of the technology, but as a spiritual person, you connected to the ceremonies and to of these caveman Iron Age type people. And what you did is you connected to the fire, and you realized that the fire was a technology, quite literally. The wood that is burned in the fire is the burning of the Earth's energy, and the burning of the Earth's energy allows you to communicate to the Earth hive mind. And as you began to communicate with the Earth hive mind, you understand there are whole dream worlds inside Earth that you had never experienced out in the void in space, and that's when you realized that this planet was hollow to the point that there were beings that lived inside it who created a fortress so the beings of darkness on the surface could not get to the hollow center. And as you began to dream yourself deeper and deeper and deeper into the hollow earth is where you found other soul families from other universes. And that's where you began to understand that as you began to connect to the shaman's fire lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, there was a wisdom in the technology of fire that you were passing on to these very young souls that were coming in. And this wisdom helped create the first tribes of man all throughout the world. You and many of the other friends that you brought here quite literally brought the wisdom here to connect to the technology of fire.
It's amazing.
Okay. Do you have any questions about that?
No, it's just kind of shocking. Can you tell me, was I some kind of a nun or a religious institutional person in a past life? Because I have such a strong feeling that I was a bad nun.
All right. It's ironic that you asked that. In the 1630s, you were a nun in Spain, and this is a very common thread that I run into with women that are fire shamans. You get brought into the church on a forced incarnation level. Somebody had found you in a previous lifetime and marked your soul with a dark ritual that said next time you're born into this world, you are going to be stuck into the karma of the church of that time, which was very, very dark at that time. Mm-hmm. And as you were born into a family that wasn't your soul family, you were extremely angry, but had no choice, because if you didn't follow through, other members of your sex would be taken against their will. So when that dark ritual was done in the past life, you agreed that no one else would be taken, but you would offer yourself to save the rest. So you came in as a nun, but the smart fire shaman in you came in with the healing skills that you could put your lay on hands on other people and heal their wounds. And as you began to come older and older in your young lifetime, by the time you were 10 years old, you were brought to the nunnery. And because your mother and father of that time didn't know how to handle someone who could lay their hands on a chicken that had broken wing and heal it, and they were calling it of the devil, but the first priest that recognized you saw you as a way to make money. So you were brought into the nunnery, and people were brought to you to heal them, and that priest was making fabulous amounts of money off of you, until finally his higher-ups learned about it, and you were traded to another church, and throughout your lifetime traded until finally you were brought to the Vatican, and you would heal other nobles of other lands in exchange for favors to the governing body of that area. But you never had your free will to be who you are, but you healed on a karmic level thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and when you passed on, you let go of that contract of domination and control. But what it was is you were healing members of domination and control so they'd exist in other lifetimes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And this laying of the hands, do I have that in every incarnation?
You have it in every incarnation if you choose to connect to the fire shaman within you, to let go of the pains of life and return to a neutral perspective without political dogmas or religious dogmas or concepts. And that's the only way you can maintain that type of energy, because the fire does not have emotions. The fire does not have political concepts. It exists as a force of nature.
Exactly. Okay, and I'm amazed right now, Andrew. You're amazing. What advice would you have for me for my next step of finding this person that I need to connect with? I mean, do I already know that person?
You already know him.
Is it a newfound relationship?
No, it's someone that's been around a while.
Okay. Is it somebody that I'm already connected with?
It's somebody you put on ignore.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You'll figure it out. It'll hit you. And what you can start doing is you need to start having fire in your life. That's the first thing.
Okay.
There's many different ways. You live in an area that's got outdoor parks that have like those little cooking grills on them?
I live in Phoenix, Arizona, and I could probably make one in my backyard. We have a big circular, just a circle made out of bricks.
Okay, well, if you can put one in your backyard, outstanding. Each piece of wood that you choose, you need to put energy into it. And this is the beginning of the fire shaman prayers. And the energy that you're putting in it is your daily story, quite literally. You know, and if you can combine a weekly story out loud to each piece of wood, you are funding the fire with your existence. Because what you're trying to do is connect to your existence through the fire and allow the negative energy to be burned away, and out of the ashes you receive a whole new layer of energy back from the fire.
And do I keep the ashes or eat them or just let them go or blow away?
Just let them go.
Okay.
I mean, literally the ashes is the metaphorical concept, because you are allowing your prayers to be consumed by the fire. The fire creates smoke. The smoke takes the prayers to the Sky Nation, and the Sky Nation repays you as the sunrise with this upload and download process.
Okay, well, I could do that. I definitely could do that.
I mean, you're going to have to spend, time speaking to the fire. That will be the most advantageous things for you. If you can just sit there and just talk to the fire like it was a person, quite literally. Mm-hmm. Tell it your hopes, tell it your dreams. Tell it what's happened in your life, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let it all out. And as you let it all out, you'll have a tremendous freeing of energy and a repayment of energy tenfold.
Okay. Well, that's great advice. Probably the best advice I've ever heard, actually. Well, thank you very much, Andrew.
Well, I have another question for you.
Sure.
If I'm prying too much, you can tell me. When you were a teenager, there's a significant brown stain on your aura. I'm going to say when you were 16. Is that something you want to talk about?
Maybe. I'm not quite sure. It could be a number of things.
Just after you got your driver's license.
Just after I got my driver's license, yeah. I had moved out. I had left my house. My mom died when I was little, and I lived with my dad and my brother. And when I turned 16 and got my driver's license, my grandparents, of course, I wanted a car. Well, they got me a car, but under the condition, I couldn't go back and forth from my dad's to theirs, because it's always been a tug of war with my grandparents and my dad, even with my mother before she passed. But she was a mind control victim, and so I became a part. Well, I was already a part of that kind of programming. Before I was 16, it started when I was 8, but when I was 16, I kind of went back and abandoned my family, if that's the brown stain.
Yep, and that's the type of energy you want to tell to the fire, because that's going to begin the healing process to you, because you're offering it to the fire, and the fire is going to neutralize the energy of that stinging moment of all those memories, and it's going to allow you to download that to your cellular memory with no emotions, but the memories are still yours to recall at any point in time. And as you begin to remove that brown stain, you'll understand that it's been holding you back. It's been literally occupying 30% of your total available energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a rope tied to your back, and as soon as you run out of slack, and you hit a wall.
Like a dog. Yeah, I've been wondering too for the longest time how I'm supposed to fix this, because it's a pain, and I've been hurting, and I know that I've caused a lot of damage in that, and I've been trying to fix it for so long, and to no avail. I haven't been able to change anything. It doesn't seem to be affected whatsoever. So,
well, it's about talking it out, quite literally. And
to the fire.
To the fire. And if you find yourself crying, let it happen. Because then you pop the cork on your emotions and you're letting it go, and the fire's going to take all of that energy and consume it and turn it to ash. And then once it's ash, it returns to your cellular memory with no emotion, but allows you to learn from it. Allows you to understand and that it was something that you needed in that part of your life, and it was a tremendous lesson. But the next set of lessons is, what other memories can you let go? What about when you're 8 and you're stuck in those horrible times? You can let those go too.
I can't even put my hands on those at this point,
But you can once you start freeing up the brown spots that are in your aura.
Right.
And you don't have to tackle them all at once.
And will this also bring back all of the repressed memories that I've been trying to remember?
It will and it won't.
Some things are just meant.
No, some things are meant for you to challenge with the voice of the fire shaman, so that they can come to the surface, so you can realize that there's a very angry mind controlled person still that's stuck in you, and you're going to be able to burn the emotion out of that separate entity and return it to your soul shard so it's not separate of you.
Oh, thank goodness for that. You know, I was born on June 22nd on the solstice of summer, so I don't know if that could...
That would be a good time for you to have a fire.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's usually... I take that week and I lay in the sun the whole time as much as I can.
That would be a good time for you. You know, have you ever tried to write your life story in an outline?
Never.
This would be a good time, and to tell the whole story as everything you can remember to that fire on that day.
Okay.
I'll
be turning 40 years old.
Doesn't matter. I had a 96-year-old man call in the other day with basal cell carcinoma. And he's going through the same process of trying to recall his life, because he also has gone through some significant issues in his life. You know.
Absolutely.
It'll be a tremendously freeing experience for you if you could, even if it's a timeline, outline theme of your life. And each, you know, I remember when I was 19, I remember I was 13, my first boyfriend, my first breakup.
Oh yeah, I can do that. That sounds simpler, you know, not as hard.
Okay? And that's all you have to tell to the fire, because as you do more and more with the fire, you'll learn that there's even more memories behind them, and it's like popping the cork. And just allow yourself, if you find, you know, if you just come to a spot in the timeline and the next thing you know there's a bunch more out, let it out. Just let it out.
I can't wait.
Okay?
Thank you so much. I've needed some direction, and you just are the perfect remedy for what I need.
I'm glad that I could help you.
Absolutely, and I appreciate your time and your input.
And any other time you want to call back in, please do, as this is an open call-on show Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
You're the best. Thank you, Andrew.
You're welcome, Heather. Take it easy, hon.
Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail. Improvise. Mysterious. It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.